Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 2494BN. Today's date is June 3rd, 2021, and the title of the episode is The Hunters Have Now Become the Hunted Pain. Nothing can stop this. Let's talk about protecting yourself. Colonial Pipeline has just paid a ransom of over $5 million after 5,000 miles of its system were shut down by hackers. This is a major reason behind why you might have seen rising gas prices recently. The FBI reported that the group responsible for the attack goes by the name DarkSide and are based out of Eastern Europe. Nearly anything or anybody connected to the internet is vulnerable to hackers. This is why I highly recommend Virtual Shield VPN. Virtual Shield is my favorite VPN on the market, and I've tried a lot of them. With Virtual Shield, you can hide your identity and keep your information secure while browsing the internet. Take advantage of their free 30-day trial with an extended 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to virtualshield.com/x22 or visit the link below to get 30% off for the next 24 hours. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, it's not looking good for the deep state players, the corrupt politicians, the fake news, big tech companies. It is now all falling apart around them. Remember, dripping the information out, letting people see the truth, letting people see what they had planned and what they did to the people is the best thing that could ever happen. And that's what we see happening right now. Actually, the hunters have now become the hunted. The hunt is on. And I do believe we're going to see a lot more of this information drip out. This is all building up to when the election fraud information is presented to the American people. When you start to put all of this together, when you start to see election fraud, what Fauci and others have done with the pandemic, what China has done, because if China can use this virus as a biological weapon, what do you think they could do with the election? It's not that difficult to put all of it together and point the finger at China. Then think about all those people that worked with a foreign country to spread this pandemic by manipulating statistical information, by taking a PCR test and bringing it out to 40 cycles, having governors take sick people and put them into the nursing homes, pushing fear every single day with a counter of how many people died in this country and around the world. Think about how many people are involved in this. Think about how many people are knowingly did all of this and then got paid in the end with a book deal. Think about the election fraud and how many people were involved with this who knowingly cheated in an election for a foreign country with the help of a foreign country. Remember those executive orders that Trump signed where they can confiscate people's assets? I wonder if that's going to come into play. We'll be talking about that a little bit later. But what we're seeing right now is that all of these people are on a defensive. Fauci's on the defensive. The Biden administration's on the defensive. The fake news media is on the defensive. Even though they don't want to touch it, even though they want to say, oh, we have nothing to do with this, they're on the defensive. The hunt is on. And this is not the end. This is just picking up steam. See, Trump, he knew exactly what all these people have done. He knew what they were doing. And now they're feeling pain. Every day, where more and more of this information comes out, and the public gets to see it, and the public gets to question it, the public wakes up. Even those people that are sleeping, those people are starting to wake up. And as more and more of this information flows out, more and more people are questioning what these people have done. This is going to be very difficult for these people. That, in the end, we were told that these people will not be able to walk down the street. Think about what's happening with Newsom, with Whitmer, with Cuomo, with Murphy. Do you think they'll be able to walk down the street? Do you think the people are going to say, you know something? We want to vote for you again. No, they're not going to do that. Do you think Fauci, once this information really starts to flow out, and yes, I know the fake news is trying to block it or they spend like 30 seconds on it. Do you think he'll be able to walk down the street? Actually, they just pulled his book for pre-sales after the emails were put out there. Who's in control? You really think it's the deep state? Why would they pull his book? They might be using him as a fall guy, but you think it's going to stop there? No. This is going to continue. Actually, if you really think about it, the people, they're waking up on all fronts with BLM. BLM, who resigned? Why? Because people called out the co-creator of BLM, where she was purchasing homes, and then she resigned. Actually, the rating for BLM, where people said, oh yes, Black Lives Matter, that is dropping like a rock. Think about Coca-Cola. We have a county in North Carolina who is banning Coca-Cola machines over the left-wing politics. They even wrote a letter to Coca-Cola. These companies are in trouble. Think about all the sports organizations where they're having their teams kneel, where they're no longer playing the national anthem. States are fighting back. You know, Mark Cuban, he's the Mavs owner. Well, he ordered the stadium staff not to play the national anthem. You know what Texas did? They responded by passing a law requiring him to play it. And Greg Abbott, all he has to do is sign it. The people are not on their side. The people are for America. They don't want racism. They don't want the woke companies. They don't want critical race theory. They don't want anything the minority is pushing to the majority. The majority now is pushing back and saying, absolutely not. You've taken this too far. Now, what's very interesting is that more information came out about Hunter Biden. Remember when Hunter Biden claimed he didn't remember his baby mama? Well, now it turns out she was on his company's health insurance plan, and he sent a text ordering she be taken off the insurance. So he lied about that. He knew about his baby mama. He knew that she was pregnant. He knew the child was his, but he had to lie about it. Remember, these people are liars. If the truth comes out and they're caught, they lie about that. That's what they continue to do. Even when emails come out and texts come out, they use the words like it's out of context. These aren't my emails. This is not what I was trying to say. It doesn't matter how many facts are presented to the people. These people will lie about the facts, but the facts are the facts. And as more information comes out, they try to spin it, they try to lie, they try to do whatever they possibly can. But in the end, what always wins? The truth. And no matter what they do, no matter what they say, nobody believes them anymore. Because once you see the truth, once you see the facts, it's game over. Now, we know that Biden is a puppet. And we know that Obama said, you know, I would love to sit in the basement, have a microphone, and have someone have an earpiece, and I would love just to give them orders. But it seems that we might have found Biden's handler, and we, the media, put this out, and it's a recording of Biden sitting there asking Nancy Pelosi, you know, should I be talking now? Should I answer any questions? And Nancy Pelosi says, listen, am I on right now? I'm not. Okay. No, we don't want him to talk. Take a listen to what happened.
Questions, if that's what I'm supposed to do, Nance, whatever you want me to do.
Am I on? No, we don't want him to talk.
Now, from this recording, it sounds like she is the handler. But once again, who's feeding her information? Remember, these are the foot soldiers. There's different levels. They're all puppets. They take orders from the puppet masters. Now, we know that the private Western Central Bank, the deep state, they're pushing the Great Reset and their climate agenda. And we know that Colonial Pipeline was hit. Just so happened it was an oil pipeline. We know that the meat packing plant, JBS, the world's largest meat supplier, they were hit with a cyber attack. And of course, the FBI came right out and said it was Russia. It was 𝐓𝐨𝐝 and 𝐂𝐩𝐝𝐚𝐲'𝐬 saying, yes, they're responsible for this. And we wouldn't expect it any other way, because anything that happens now, it's always Russia. They know instantaneously. How would they know instantaneously that it was Russia? We know it was the clowns. We know they're pushing their agenda. We know that they're doing this on purpose. Now, we're starting to see other little cyber attacks, but I think they're using those as a distraction from what is happening now with Fauci, with the election audit and everything else. But is this going to work? Absolutely not. They are trapped. They are now the hunted. They're on the defensive. They're receiving pain every single day. Now, what's very interesting, since this pandemic, we're seeing the governors, they are now being recalled. The people are questioning everything that they have done since the beginning. They're being investigated for putting sick people into the nursing homes. This is not going to work out well for them. And now out in California, since they kept the school system shut down and the teacher union dictated the rules to the CDC and what they wanted and how they wanted this to go, it seems that the people of California, the parents, they're becoming sour on the public schools. And a lot of these parents saying, we don't want our children going to these public schools anymore. We want them to go to other schools, or we're going to teach them at home. So this is not benefiting the school system. It's actually now hurting them. And this is going to be a problem for the deep state. Remember, they want to teach critical race theory in these public schools. But if students now are being taught at home, if students are being taught at private schools or other schools, they can't push their agenda. And the poll that was put out there found that 61% of California voters believe schools should have been fully reopened for in-person learning by the week ending May 17th. And voters, they were asked their opinion about public schools before the pandemic. 42% of the respondents said public schools did an excellent or good job. Then they were asked about the same schools in light of the pandemic. The percentage giving the same answers decreased to 31%. The parents are unhappy. And who did all of this? Well, it started at the top. Fauci. He was taking orders from who? China, the deep state players. Then the governors, they followed suit. Now, let's go back in time here. And Red Pill Pharmacist put this out, and this is a video of Fauci. This was on TikTok. This is January 2017. And he was talking, and this was the inauguration of Trump. And he was talking about a pandemic, or like we like to say, plandemic. And he was telling everyone what was going to happen. Just take a listen.
Based on my experience, and you'll see that in a moment, is that there is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. There will be a surprise outbreak.
So from this, you can hear him say that there was going to be some type of outbreak. How did he know what was coming? Because it was planned. This didn't naturally occur. This virus was created at a lab. It was a biological weapon. A foreign country used it on the U.S. What does that mean? Does that mean a country attacked the United States? Yes. Yes, it does. Think about that for a second. Remember yesterday when Newsweek put out an article that the Chinese saying that we're headed towards nuclear war? Why would they say that? They said it because they attacked the U.S. We'll be talking a little bit more about this a little bit later in this report. But first, let's continue with Anthony Fauci. So, Dr. Fauci, in April 2020, he received an email from Francis Collins, the National Institutes of Health director, with the subject line noting "Conspiracy gains momentum," which includes a link to a report outlining multiple sources believing the Chinese coronavirus started in a lab. Collins and Fauci discuss what appears to be a conspiracy. Still, the important parts of the email, they're completely redacted. And the response from Fauci is also redacted. I wonder what he said. I wonder what the plan was. Remember, they called it a conspiracy, but it was the truth. And what they were really saying is, how can we cover this up? Now, what we see happening right now, as these emails are being produced, we're seeing that government is working with big tech. And remember, from the posts, Q let us know the following. Some platforms will collapse under own weight of illegal activities. Now remember, Dr. Shiva, he already produced evidence that the government has a hotline and it was telling big tech who to censor. Now, with these emails that are coming out, and this is coming from the election wizard, it shows further evidence that big tech colludes with the government. And this is the email from Mark Zuckerberg to Anthony Fauci. I wanted to send a note of thanks for your leadership and everything you're doing to make our country's response to this outbreak as effective as possible. I also wanted to share a few ideas of ways we could help you get your message out. But I understand you're incredibly busy, so don't feel a need to reply unless these seem interesting. So it seems that government and big tech, they were working together. Remember, Mark Zuckerberg also let Fauci know that they were putting something into place where authoritative information would be shown to the public and the truth would not. That's pretty much what they did. Now remember, they have all these fact checkers out there fact checking everything about the virus. But who were the fact checkers? We come to find out it was Peter Daszak. Now, he was a fact checker. Who is Peter Daszak? Well, he's well known as a major bankroller of coronavirus experiments at the Wuhan lab in the years leading up to the pandemic. At least one major virologist has claimed that Daszak, nonprofit EcoHealth Alliance, helped fund lab experiments that were then used in risky gain-of-function virology research. So they used him as a fact checker. And remember, there's correspondence between Fauci and him. So he was behind all this, in line with China, and he was the fact checker saying that it didn't leak out from Wuhan. And now we're finding out that it did. And this is why when we discuss fact checkers, we need to know who they are. Because if they're part of the swamp, the deep state, what are they fact checking? All they're doing is covering for themselves. And that's why these fact checkers are meaningless. Because if something is considered a fact, how are you reversing the fact? Because it was never a fact. That's why. Now, Fauci, he wants the U.S. to go easy on China and stop being accusatory about COVID. Well, why would we do that? Why would we go easy on a country that used this virus as a biological weapon, shut down the entire world, people suffered, people couldn't see loved ones that were dying, businesses were ruined, and for a year and a half plus, people were struggling. Some people committed suicide. So why in the world would we go easy on them? Well, Fauci is in line with China. This is why he's saying that, because they control him. Now, finally, Press Secretary Psaki, she got a question on Fauci emails. And she answered that Fauci has been an undeniable asset in our country's pandemic response. But it's obviously not that advantageous for me to relitigate the substance of emails from, get this, 17 months ago. What do you mean? She can't relitigate the emails. So if this whole thing was a hoax and it was planned and it was an attack by a foreign country, we can't go back in time to figure out what really happened? Of course we can. Basically, she's covering for him. That's what that really means. Now, out of Telegram, the storm has arrived. Rand Paul discusses Fauci emails regarding gain-of-function research. Rand said that we have 11 research labs in the U.S. doing gain-of-function research. Is he dripping all this out? It seems that way. Is he trying to set up a hearing with those scientists for an open discussion of this type of research? I do believe so. And it has begun. The swamp, as we know it, is being drained. Remember, Trump, he's not out in the front. He's not telling everyone it was Fauci. All he did was allow the swamp to do what they do best. Yes, he has all the information. Yes, he knows exactly what they were doing. That's why he let them do it, because he knew that later on, he would have more power than ever before. That you could take information and bring it out into the public realm and let the public decide once they see the truth. Now, as soon as these emails hit, it seemed that they took Fauci's book from the pre-sales and they removed it. It's no longer on the sites. Now, why would they do that? They did that because they know there's going to be major problems coming. Remember, that was his payoff. How do you pay these people off once they do the job? You have them write a book and you advance them the money. It doesn't matter if the book sells or doesn't sell. But we can see the American people, they're waking up. They realize what's happening. And there's a poll. This new poll asks the question, do you think the virus came from Wuhan? Or do you think it was naturally occurring? 58% of U.S. adults believe it is definitely or probably true the coronavirus originated in a Chinese lab. Now, this is coming from the Economist YouGov poll. And they asked the respondents, regardless of whether or not it was created or naturally mutated, do you believe it is true or false that a laboratory in China was the origin of the virus responsible for COVID-19? And 58% said, yeah, I do. Now, what happens when a lot more information is produced? Do you think this number is going to go up? Already the people are saying, yes, no way did this naturally occur. What happens when more information comes out saying we had the cure this entire time? We never had to go through the lockdowns. Let's talk about protecting yourself. Colonial Pipeline has just paid a ransom of over $5 million after 5,000 miles of its system were shut down by hackers. This is a major reason behind why you might have seen rising gas prices recently. The FBI reported that the group responsible for the attack goes by the name DarkSide and are based out of Eastern Europe. Nearly anything or anybody connected to the internet is vulnerable to hackers. This is why I highly recommend Virtual Shield VPN. Virtual Shield is my favorite VPN on the market, and I've tried a lot of them. With Virtual Shield, you can hide your identity and keep your information secure while browsing the internet. Take advantage of their free 30-day trial with an extended 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to virtualshield.com/X22 or visit the link below to get 30% off for the next 24 hours. What do you think the people are going to say then? See, this is the Great Awakening. It has never ended. It's continuing because now people are waking up on different subjects. The pandemic, soon the election fraud, soon other crimes against humanity, soon treason, sedition. Because once these people are implicated in this type of crime, and we see the same people implicated in, let's say, election fraud, it's not that far of a reach to say, okay, then these people probably did crimes against humanity when that information comes out. Think about when Durham's information comes out with treason, sedition. People won't have to say, well, I don't know if I really believe this because, I'm not sure if it's true. They will believe it because they see the same exact people committing these crimes in all different areas. Now, Jim Jordan, he tweeted this out. IRS didn't target conservatives. Benghazi was caused by a video. Steele dossier was real. President Trump colluded with Russia. Hunter Biden story was fake. COVID-19 didn't come from a lab in China. Are they ever right? No. Actually, what he just did there, this is all of their propaganda. And if you notice, the propaganda, was it ever backed up with facts? No. It was backed up with propaganda. And as soon as the facts came out, what happened? These stories started to fall apart. And look how many there were. Now, out of Steel Truth Channel, and this looks like this is coming from Dr. Zelensko, and this is what he put out. This is what they wrote. The true narrative. COVID-19 is a man-made bioweapon released from Wuhan viral lab. Number 2, Fauci and his accomplices gave critical technology and funding to China to develop a weapon of mass destruction. Pre-hospital treatment of COVID-19 was intentionally suppressed. Life-saving information and medication was intentionally suppressed. Number 4, the 𝐓𝐸𝐽𝐞 protocol was developed mid-March 2020. Hydroxychloroquine, zinc, azithromycin. The protocol reduced hospitalization and death by 84%. Multiple studies have proven this to be a scientific truth. Academic fraud, media false propaganda, and governmental malfeasance vilified pre-hospital treatment with the 𝐓𝐸𝐽𝐞 protocol. Out of 600,000 dead Americans, we could have saved 510,000. The American people have been brutalized and are victims of mass murder and crimes against humanity. Solution? Immediately endorse pre-hospital treatment and make it the standard of care. Bring the criminals to justice. Vladimir 𝐓𝐸𝐽𝐞, MD. And yes, I do believe this number right here, the 600,000, most likely it is the flu. And this hydroxychloroquine cure probably cures the flu. And this is why they didn't want people to know this. This is why they kept it off the shelf. Yes, there's other agendas like the election, the Great Reset, and everything else. But they didn't want people to know that there was a cure for other viruses. Now, Emerald Robinson put this out on Twitter, and she wrote, "The Fauci emails are not only the death blow to Fauci's credibility, but to the credibility of the corporate media, which amplified every lie he told uncritically." It's not just the fake news. It's also big tech. Remember, they would put little labels under what you were saying on Twitter, if you were making a video on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram. They're all complicit. They knowingly did this without having any facts. They told you they were facts, but they really weren't facts. Now, Senator Paul, he said this in an interview on Fox. He said, "The emails paint a disturbing picture of Dr. Fauci from the very beginning, worrying that he had been funding gain-of-function research." Dan Scavino responded with a GIF. And there's an individual with one hand, takes a chair, flicks it, the chair opens up, he takes a seat, pull up a chair, and enjoy the show. Because that is what we are watching. Now, in the beginning, we talked about how China attacked the United States. I do believe that Trump said this multiple times. It's like we were being attacked. And remember, in one of the emails, it says this is how the virus was created. So coronavirus, most likely, and I think it is a bioweapon, and they created it, and they released it on the world, on America. And it was like we were attacked, and we were, biologically, by a foreign country, which was China. That's why Newsweek came out with the article, "China Warns of a Nuclear Showdown with the United States." And yes, other fake news outlets picked it up. So when Trump said this during the pandemic, that we were attacked, if another country attacked the U.S. using a biological weapon, is this an act of war? Yes, I do believe so. If it is proven that China launched this attack against the U.S., could China expect to go to war? Yes. Is this something the central bank and the deep state wants? Yes. Do I believe we're going to be going to war? No. But this is why China is out there saying we're preparing for a nuclear war, which tells us everything we need to know. They're guilty. Now, Trump, he put out a statement. And this is what it says. "After seeing the emails, our country is fortunate I didn't do what Dr. Fauci wanted me to do. For instance, I closed our borders to China very early despite his not wanting them closed. The Democrats and the fake news media even called me a xenophobe. In the end, we saw this was a life-saving decision, and likewise with closing our borders to Europe, specifically to certain heavily infected countries. I was later given credit, even by Tony, for saving hundreds of thousands of lives. Dr. Fauci also didn't put an emphasis on speed of vaccine production because he thought it would take 3 to 4 or even 5 years to create. I got it done in less than 9 months with Operation Warp Speed. In retrospect, the vaccine is saving the world. Then I placed the greatest bet in history. We ordered billions of dollars worth of vaccines before we knew it even worked. Had that not been done, our wonderful vaccines would not have been administered until October of this year. No one would have had the shot, and that has now saved the world and millions of lives. Also, Dr. Fauci was totally against masks when even I thought they would at least be helpful. He then changed his mind completely and became a radical masker. There are a lot of questions that must be answered by Dr. Fauci. The funding of Wuhan by the U.S. was foolishly started by the Obama administration in 2014, but ended under the Trump administration. When I heard about it, I said, no way. What did Dr. Fauci know about gain-of-function research, and when did he know it? It's funny how he says, after he found out about the emails, completely insulating himself. Remember, optics are very important. And he's pointing out how he went crazy with the mask. I'm talking about Fauci. We know that masks don't do anything. But look what he's pointing out here. Then he followed up with another statement. Now everyone, even the so-called enemy, are beginning to say that President Trump was right about China virus coming from Wuhan lab. The correspondence between Dr. Fauci and China speaks too loudly for anyone to ignore. China should pay $10 trillion to America and the world for the death and destruction they have caused. Now, let's think about this for a second. He went ahead and he countered their entire plan. Their entire plan to have this pandemic go on for at least 5 years, or maybe even longer, to usher in the Great Reset. Yes, it was to remove him from office and put Biden in there. But remember, the Patriots knew the playbook. They knew exactly what they were going to do. But think about what he's saying in this next statement about China paying $10 trillion to America and the world. Remember those executive orders 13818, 13848? I think they're going to be coming into play. They cover asset forfeiture for crimes committed against humanity and election fraud. They can confiscate assets. Think about this for a second. He's letting everyone know that this is coming. And it is coming. The hunt is on. Now remember all these politicians who are out there saying, yes, we must defund the police. We must get rid of the police. We must defund. Well, these same representatives, like Democrat Representative Cori Bush of Missouri, yes, they're talking about defunding the police, but she spent more than $30,000 on private security in the first quarter of 2021. Why does she need security? I mean, if we're getting rid of the police, why does she need it? And when you look at the accounting records, yes, it shows that she spent this money, not her own money, the people's money. This is unbelievable. These people are hypocrites. And we know the entire plan. If we step back and we take the 40,000-foot view, we know why they wanted to fund the police. They want it centralized in the federal government. They don't want the police being controlled on the local level. That was their main objective. But did it work? Did the people go along with it? Absolutely not. Now, Biden, he is panicking over election laws because more and more states, they are turning to the legislature saying, you know something, we need to strengthen our election laws because we saw what happened during the pandemic. We need voter ID. We got to get rid of these ballot boxes. We can't have mail-in ballot. We can't have any of these things. And this is why the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the invisible enemy, this is why they're panicking. And Biden was out there and he's saying this is an assault on democracy because now Texas is out there and they're pushing their election integrity laws. Well, if you compare the Texas Senate Bill 7 and Delaware voting laws, that because Delaware is where Biden is from, he was a senator of Delaware. Do you know Delaware has stricter election laws than Texas? In Texas, early voting is actually increased under the legislation. The legislation requires more counties to offer at least 12 hours of early voting each weekday of the last week of early voting, but sets a new window of 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. for voting. And according to Ballotpedia, there is no early voting in Delaware. In Texas, voters who are 65 or older are automatically eligible to vote by mail. The voting legislation would prohibit mailing unrequested voting registration materials using public funds. But people in both parties can do so, but at their own expense. So these people have to request it. You're just not going to get it in the mail. SB 7 also makes it a state jail felony for local officials to proactively send mail-in ballot applications to voters who did not request them. So when you look at what's happening in Delaware, they have stricter laws than Texas. So what is he complaining about? Well, he doesn't like it because these key states, they were able to cheat in the key states because they were able to use the laws that were on the books to cheat. Remember, during the pandemic, they had the Attorney General, they had the Secretary of State, they had the governors create the laws. Now the legislature is stepping in and actually creating the laws because those people really don't create laws. And the Constitution is not suspended during a pandemic. And now the legislature have just set the real laws into place. And this is why they're so angry, because it takes their ability to cheat in these states, and they need these states to cheat in. Now, it seems that Madison, Wisconsin, this has become the fifth largest city to face election complaint. And it's spreading all over the place where people want audits. Now, remember, we had the Pennsylvania team come down to take a look at Arizona and how they're doing the forensic audit. Now Pennsylvania is saying, yes, we're going to push forward with the audit. We have 500 prominent Georgian Republicans, including Chairman David Schaefer, urging Governor Kemp to launch a forensic audit of the 2020 election. There's so much momentum now from we the people pushing these people to do a forensic audit. And the push is going to get harder and harder. It's going to turn into a shove. And these people will have no choice. Remember, they're pushing back because they don't want people to know the truth. They don't want people to understand what really happened. But when enough people do this and enough people push hard enough, well, they have no choice. Now, General Flynn put this out. It says, "Dear fellow Pennsylvania patriots, first, welcome and thank you for coming out to see our small brush fire of liberty. As Sam Adams would say, it is my sincere hope that upon your return, you would revisit Independence Hall. Go in and look at those small desks and humble surroundings and remember what a small group of men with courage started. It is my hope, then, that you will go to your state capitol house and protect and defend what they gave us. I have enclosed some 2x4s for you to attach to the spines of any Republican who are afraid to defend our republic when she is in great peril. As Thomas Paine once said in another time of crisis, these are the times that try men's souls. Summer soldiers and the Sunshine Patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country. But he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of men and women. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we attain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. Heaven knows how to put a proper price on its goods, and it would be strange indeed if so celestial an article as freedom should not be highly rated. Now go home and do your duty. Your country needs you. Godspeed." Yes, the country needs people to push. We need to find out the truth. Now, out in Arizona, there's an update to the forensic audit. Ken Bennett says the following: "The best way for me to estimate the total is to count that we're now down 14 ballots and that haven't been touched. When the county delivered the ballots on April 22nd, there were 46 ballots. 2 of those were just test ballots and some other spoiled ballots and things like that. So ballots with ballots on them were about 44. We're now down to 14. So I think we're quickly coming up on about 2/3 complete. We're doing about 1.5 ballots a day, and there's only 14 left. So if we're doing 1.5 a day, counting would be done in the middle of June. So there's only 14 ballots left, and they pretty much know everything they need to know. They know they cheated. And once this information starts to get out, and we're already starting to see other states looking on to Arizona, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and the rest, other states are going to join in and say, you know something, we need to do the same exact thing here. We need to find out if there was cheating in this election. We need to audit. Just like people's taxes are audited, we need to audit to make sure that everything's on the up and up. Because we need to know, are our elections controlled by a foreign entity? Are they controlled by a group of people that are making the decisions for us? Now, Wendy Rogers put this out on Telegram, and it says the following. Cyber Ninjas is precisely what kind of firm to be able to lead this audit. They are an application security company which has allowed a quick understanding on how election system applications work in detail. Their modus operandi is to perform threat modeling. That is, they figure out ways a system can be attacked, how to identify a threat and protect against it. They find what the artifacts are in order to prove activity did or didn't happen. This was used in designing the audit scope. Steps 1 to the Arizona audit. Phase 1, canvassing, currently indefinitely delayed by the Arizona Senate. Did you vote? Did it match? There have been innumerable reports of mismatch anomalies. Was the voter registration history changed? Number 2, phase 2. Physical ballots, actual ballot counting. Everyone can relate to the concept of counting paper ballots. Maricopa volunteer counters must have voted in the November 2020 election. No determination whether the counter volunteer is a Republican or Democrat. If a count is off by more than one person per 50 ballots counted, then the ballots are recounted. It takes approximately 8 seconds to count a ballot. There is no way to coordinate or sully this very precise process. There is no speed without accuracy. Paper examination table uses digital single-lens reflexive DSLR cameras. 0% chance of damaging ballots. Determines which oval was marked and if marked by a human. Analyzes fibers of ballots material and barely detectable yellow dot watermarks. Every last ballot should be able to be accounted for. Bottom line, opposition pushback may be an indication of the more questionable areas to investigate. Phase 3, electronic voting systems. Digital capture of all voting systems provided is completed. Cipher followed industry best practices with write block devices that prevented any hard drive from being changed. Analysis of the data captured is ongoing. Phase 4, results. Number from various phases will be compared against the certified results. Cyber Ninja CEO overall observation. Number 1, Americans must be able to trust how one's vote is cast. Number 2, a judge's scope of expertise does not tend to include higher math or computer systems. Number 3, however, every American understands how to count and for the counting to be done at the local community level. Number 4, we should go to paper only. Number 5, we should be counting at the precinct level. Number 6, we should declare voting day a national holiday so everyone can vote and participate in the counting. Number 7, even Canada's federal election is paper only. Do you know, out of the whole world, most of the countries, I think 46 of the nations, they require voter ID. Why doesn't the United States? Well, we're getting there. I think soon we're going to require voter ID for every single state. Let me continue. What now could Pennsylvania do if it wanted to pursue a comprehensive Arizona level audit? In theory, the Pennsylvania State Senate State Government Committee can issue a subpoena on behalf of the PA State Senate to start an in-depth audit of a PA county. Arizona welcomes all states to adopt this gold standard of process to ensure free and fair elections for 2022. Yes, all the states are going to follow this. This is why Biden is out there screaming and yelling. Does this mean the deep state is just going to sit back and just watch it, allow this to happen? No, they're going to try to stop it. They're going to try to shut everything down. Is it going to work? No. This is why they're panicking right now. Remember, we have multiple things happening right now. Trump, the Patriots, they have all the leverage. They have these people exactly where they want them. They think they're in control, but they're not. Trump has more leverage now than ever before. They have the ability to drip out information. These people now are on the defensive. These people are being hunted. And as more and more information comes out about the governors, about Fauci, and soon the election fraud, wait until Durham drops his information. This is going to be the storm of all storms. When we talk about the storm that's going to hit, this is it. the people awake, and all of this hitting them at once. Do you think they could stop this? No. Nothing can stop this. Nothing. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.